You always felt the shift before anyone spoke. The tension, the silence after a joke landed wrong. The mood change when a door closed too hard. While others stayed relaxed, something in you tightened. Alert, already bracing. They called you sensitive, emotional, too much. You learned quickly that feeling deeply was dangerous in rooms that rewarded numbness. So you tried to turn it down. You failed. And for years you thought that failure was weakness. It was not. From the beginning your nervous system was tuned higher. Emotions did not pass through you quietly, they arrived like weather fronts. Sudden, heavy, impossible to ignore. You felt joy intensely. Pain lingered. Embarrassment burned long after others moved on. There is a memory from childhood, a classroom, someone else being scolded. Not you. Yet your chest tightened anyway. You felt their shame like it belonged to you. You did not understand why, only that it stayed with you all day. That was not distraction. That was emotional intelligence without instruction. But no one explained that. They taught you control meant suppression, strength meant silence. So you swallowed reactions, you hid tears, you smiled through overload. Each time you did, something learned the wrong lesson, that your awareness was a liability. This is how the guilt cycle started. You reacted strongly, then judged yourself for reacting. You replayed moments endlessly. Overthinking became self-punishment. Sensitivity turned inward and sharpened. There was a night you remember clearly, lying awake. House quiet, a conversation replaying again and again. You could not stop analyzing tone, pauses, micro-expressions. Your body felt wired and exhausted at the same time. You thought you were broken. But what if you were scanning for threat, alignment, truth? Because your mind was built to read human systems quickly. What if your emotional intensity was not excess, but signal? Underestimation followed you everywhere. People dismissed your instincts as overreaction. They ignored warnings you felt, but could not prove. When things fell apart later, no one remembered you sensed it early. That betrayal cuts deepest. Being right too early looks exactly like being wrong. So you doubted yourself. You stopped trusting your gut. You deferred to logic even when it felt hollow. You chose safety over intuition. That choice cost you clarity. The psychological break comes quietly here. Not dramatic, just fatigue. The exhaustion of carrying feelings for entire rooms. The numbness that follows years of self-silencing. There is a scene burned into memory, a broken room after conflict. Words said, bridges damaged. You stood alone afterward, hands shaking, wondering why emotions always escalated so fast around you. That moment felt like proof you were unstable. It was actually proof you absorbed everything. ADHD emotional intelligence works differently. You do not feel one thing at a time, you feel layers. Context, history, subtext. Your mind runs emotional pattern recognition constantly, even when you wish it would stop. That is why crowds drain you. Why conflict exhausts you. Why injustice makes you restless. You are processing more data than most people ever notice. The problem was never the depth, it was the lack of boundaries. The first transformation begins with validation. You stop calling yourself dramatic. You name the truth. You are perceptive. You sense shifts early. You feel because you see. There is a flashback of noticing tension between two people before anyone admitted it. You felt crazy for weeks. Then the truth surfaced. That pattern repeats everywhere in your life. The second transformation is direction. You stop letting emotion flood you indiscriminately. You learn to observe without absorbing. Awareness replaces identification. This is discipline, not detachment. The third transformation is use. You begin applying emotional intelligence deliberately, reading rooms, negotiating timing, choosing silence or action strategically. Sensitivity becomes leverage. A memory returns, a moment when you chose not to speak, sensing the room was not ready. Hours later, your insight landed cleanly. You realize timing matters more than volume. Emotion is raw energy. Untrained, it overwhelms. Directed, it moves outcomes. You were never meant to feel less. You were meant to steer better. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You were built different. Your empathy is not weakness. It is radar. Your intensity is not chaos. It is information. Your sensitivity is not fragility. It is early warning. The world taught you to mistrust this gift because it could not control it, but control comes from mastery, not denial. The storm inside you has always been intelligent. It sensed what others missed. It reacted before words arrived. It protected you in ways you never noticed. Now it asks for leadership. This is only the first realization. The rebuild ahead will demand boundaries, discipline, and courage. But once shaped, this gift becomes something rare, something powerful, something they never saw coming. Word count, 950. Next, the rebuild begins when you stop fighting the radar and start learning how to aim it. Emotional intelligence without boundaries feels like drowning. With structure, it becomes navigation. This is where the storm learns direction. At first it feels unnatural. You are used to absorbing everything, other people's moods, unspoken tension, emotional residue left in rooms. Letting that pass through, instead of lodging inside, feels like betrayal of who you are. There is a memory of a crowded space, voices overlapping, laughter sharp. You felt your chest tighten as if danger hid behind small talk. You left early, ashamed for needing distance. That was not weakness. That was self-protection unrecognized. The first real shift comes when you stop judging your reactions and start studying them. You notice patterns. Certain people drain you. Certain environments overload you. Certain conversations spike your nervous system instantly. This awareness changes everything. The first transformation strategy is emotional containment. You learn to separate observation from absorption. You still perceive everything, but you do not carry it all home. Visualization helps. You imagine emotions passing like weather, not lodging like knives. There is a scene of you washing your hands after a long day, watching water carry residue away. That ritual becomes symbolic. You leave what is not yours behind. Sleep comes easier. The second strategy is boundary enforcement. This is the hardest part for you. Saying no feels cruel. Distance feels cold. But you learn that boundaries are not rejection. They are calibration. A flashback surfaces of agreeing to something you sensed would overwhelm you. You ignored intuition. You paid for it later with exhaustion and resentment. That pattern ends here. You begin choosing proximity deliberately. Fewer people, deeper connections. Silence becomes recovery instead of loneliness. Strength returns when energy stops leaking. The third strategy is strategic empathy. You stop feeling everything equally. You prioritize. You decide where empathy serves purpose and where it wastes force. This turns sensitivity into intelligence. There is a memory of mediating conflict instinctively, calming rooms without trying. You always did this unconsciously. Now you do it intentionally. Timing improves. Outcomes shift. Underestimation persists. People still call you emotional. They still dismiss intuition as softness. You no longer correct them. You watch outcomes speak. Emotional intelligence sharpens negotiation. You sense when to push and when to wait. You read subtext others miss. This is not manipulation. It is awareness applied ethically. Pressure tests this new structure. Stress returns. Old spirals try to reappear. This is where discipline matters. You pause. You breathe. You choose response instead of reaction. There is a moment you remember clearly. Someone tried to provoke you. In the past, emotion would have erupted. This time, you stayed calm. Silence did the work. Power shifted instantly. This restraint does not dull you. It refines you. Your empathy deepens without draining you. You still care deeply. You just stop bleeding for everyone. This balance feels foreign at first, then liberating. Comparison fades. You stop wishing you felt less. You start appreciating that you feel accurately. That accuracy becomes advantage in leadership, creativity, and strategy. Your nervous system stabilizes, not flat, grounded. You feel storms earlier and prepare. Others panic late. You move first. There is a flashback of a rising storm you sensed hours before anyone else. You warned them. They laughed. When chaos arrived, you were already positioned. That pattern repeats across life. Emotional intelligence matures into presence. People feel seen around you, heard, understood. You do not fix them. You orient them. This presence is magnetic and unsettling. It reveals truth. Some lean in, some withdraw. Both outcomes serve alignment. Stop apologizing for sensitivity. You stop calling it a flaw. You start treating it like a blade that must be sheathed and drawn intentionally. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are built different. The rebuild is working. The storm listens now. The radar sharpen. What comes next is command. And command changes everything. Word count 950. Next. Command does not announce itself loudly. It settles into posture, breath, timing. This is where emotional intelligence stops being something you manage and becomes something you wield with calm authority. You feel it first in silence. Situations that once pulled reactions from you now pause. You sense the room without merging with it. Awareness expands, but your center holds. There is a vision that appears now. You standing at the edge of a storm, not inside it. Wind loud, rain heavy. You watch patterns form instead of being swept away. This is command earned through restraint. Your sensitivity did not disappear. It refined. You still feel shifts instantly. The difference is choice. You decide what enters and what passes. Emotion answers to discipline. This is leadership of the nervous system. You no longer need to prove empathy. It radiates. People open around you because you see them clearly without drowning in their pain. This is rare. This is influence without force. There is a memory of a cracked crown you once wore. You believed authority belonged to colder minds. That crown reshapes now. Not heavy. Balanced. Carried easily because it fits your nature. Under pressure you remain steady. Others escalate. You slow. This contrast creates gravity. Decisions land cleanly. Conflict de-escalates around you. Emotional intelligence now guides strategy. You choose timing over urgency. Silence over reaction. Presence over performance. This discipline multiplies effectiveness. There is a flashback of speaking too early, Emotion raw. Insight ignored. You learned patience the hard way. Now you wait. When you speak, rooms shift. Your intuition sharpens further because it is no longer clouded by guilt or overthinking. You trust it because you tested it repeatedly through action and recovery. Time blindness still exists. It no longer destabilizes you. Systems support awareness. You arrive prepared. You exit before overload. Energy stays intact. Comparison dissolves completely. You stop wishing you were less sensitive. You realize numbness was never strength. Precision was. Your emotional intelligence now scales. Teams, families, negotiations. You design environments that regulate people without controlling them. Calm spreads through structure you set. There is a memory of walking away from chaos instead of fixing it. That choice once felt selfish. Now it feels strategic. You conserve energy for impact. People may still underestimate you. Let them. Surprise remains leverage. You do not advertise mastery. You demonstrate outcomes. Your empathy becomes selective. Your compassion becomes fierce. You protect what matters. You withdraw from what drains. Boundaries hold. This balance feels like sovereignty. The storm imagery changes one final time. Fire burns clean. Steel holds edge. Shadows obey light. The throne was internal all along. You understand the truth fully now. Emotional intensity was never the flaw. Emotional ignorance was. Once trained, feeling becomes intelligence. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You were built different. Different enough to feel deeply. Strong enough to discipline feeling. Wise enough to apply it. The world needs minds like yours. In moments of fracture. When tension rises. When truth hides between words. When leadership requires perception, not volume. You have lived inside emotional weather long enough to command it. Stand steady inside that truth. Protect your radar. Aim it deliberately. Let empathy serve purpose, not drain you. Subscribe to continue sharpening this edge.